Seattle home buyers, what if the biggest barrier to entry, the down payment, could be significantly reduced or even deferred, helping you get into a home sooner? And you're going to want to stay till the end of this video when I break down what is required in order for you to get this free money to purchase your first home and why this is changing the game for Seattle buyers right now. I'm Brennen Clouse. Today, we're going to talk all about the down payment assistance program in Washington that you can take advantage of to get into a home sooner. This is going to help you beat the high upfront costs in a competitive market like Seattle. And today I'm going to talk through the requirements to getting the down payment assistance program and how it actually works. Okay, let's dive in with the Home Advantage Down Payment Assistance Program. This is from the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, and I have actually been certified with the commission to teach the down payment assistance classes for at least the past 6 years. So I've met many buyers who have gone through this, and today we're going to talk about all of the program requirements and what the program is. So this is down payment assistance. And the first thing you need to understand is the difference between a first mortgage and a second mortgage. So we're going to break that down first. The first mortgage, the best way to think about this is your typical loan on a home. So for example, if you were buying a home with a 20% down payment and you were getting an 80% loan, that would be your first mortgage, that 80% loan. Now there is something called a second mortgage and what this down payment assistance program provides. And that is basically the mortgage that comes after that 80%. And so for example, in this scenario, the down payment assistance is a second mortgage. That means that it's paid off after the primary mortgage. So the first mortgage gets paid off first, that 80%, and then if you have a second mortgage on the home, that gets paid off after the 80% is paid off. So there's a first mortgage and a second mortgage. Now, the way that this Home Advantage Down Payment Assistance Program works is that you basically get a second mortgage on the property to cover your down payment. So for example, if you were going to use 5% down, the second mortgage would be for that 5%, and your first mortgage would be 95%, adding up to 100. That second mortgage of the 5% down payment is actually zero interest to you as the buyer, which is the best part about this program. You get a down payment and it's zero interest to you. Now, that means that you will still have interest on your first mortgage for covering that 95% of the home value. So keep that in mind. And that's part of any typical mortgage is that you have interest on that mortgage. So this isn't anything different than a regular mortgage, but something to keep in mind as you go through this. So how much can you actually receive with this program? So you can receive 3, 4, or 5% to use as your down payment for the purchase of home. Now, this loan has 0% interest and there are no payments on the loan for as long as you live in the home with that same loan structure. Now, what I mean by that is this does have to be repaid if you move out of the home and sell it, or if you refinance the loan, or if you end up paying off that first mortgage, that 95% that you borrowed. So if you paid your whole home off, you would no longer have that first mortgage and you would have to repay the second mortgage that came for your down payment. So you can get up to 3, 4, or 5%. Again, 0% interest on this loan, and it's deferred, meaning you don't pay it until you refinance your home, you sell it, or you paid your home off. So you don't have any interest payments, you don't have any monthly payments on that. It is essentially free money that you're lent, and there's no interest payments. Now, one of the best parts about this loan is that in order to qualify, you don't have to be a first-time buyer. So this can actually be your second home, but the thing that you do have to remember is that this has to be your primary residence, meaning that you need to be living in this home in order to qualify for this Home Advantage Down Payment Assistance Program. So what's required in order to get this free, basically, money? Let's talk about that. Now, there are two other requirements. The second primary requirement is that your household income has to be under $215,000 a year for your combined household income in one given year. So if you have two different people living in the house that are going to be on the loan and they each make $150,000 a year, you would be over the income limit. So you would no longer qualify for this. But if your household income is under $215,000, now this varies a little bit by county to county, but for a statewide number, it's $215,000. And then you also have to take a down payment assistance class. So this is what I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I've been teaching these down payment assistance classes for the past 6+ years. And so I see people come in every day and take this class. It's typically a 5-hour course that teaches you everything about buying a home in Washington. It's a really informative course. You learn a lot about the finances of buying a home as well as the process of buying real estate. And so you have a really good understanding. With Seattle's really strong prices and competitive landscape, this is a really great program for buyers who are trying to get into the market to give them a leg up on actually having that down payment so you can get in and start building wealth. The best part about real estate and investing in real estate is if you can buy as early as possible and hang on to that real estate as long as possible. And this program lets you get in and start owning real estate sooner for less money out of your pocket, especially if you need money to cover certain repairs or things like the inspection or the appraisal, you will have less money out of your pocket so that you can go do those other things that are required when you're buying a home. This also means less money at the closing table. So typically when someone buys their first home, you're coming to the closing table with your down payment, which this is now covering, and you also have closing costs that you have to pay for. So that's something to keep in mind. Even if you are utilizing this, it lowers that amount of money that you need at the closing table, but you still will have closing costs on the purchase. And depending on the price of the home, you could have some other costs like HOA fees or title and escrow fees that you need to be aware of when you're purchasing any home, not just one with down payment assistance. The other great thing about this is that it's broadly eligible. Because you don't have to be a first-time buyer, you can use this loan program when you're buying your second home, or if you are moving from a condo to a townhouse. This is a really great option for people in Seattle where the landscape is super competitive and down payments typically do need to be higher. Typically, a down payment is anywhere from 3 to 5% of the purchase price. Down payments typically range anywhere from 3 to 20% in Seattle. And so this giving you that range of 3 to 5% allows you to get into the market with lower costs, and then you don't pay any interest on this loan for as long as you have. So again, the only time you have to pay this off is when you go to sell the property, if you refinance that first mortgage that you get, or when you finally pay off that first mortgage if you've been in the home a long time, or you start to pay the loan balance down. Biggest mistake I see is for buyers thinking that they have to have 20% down in order to get into a home. So this is a complete game changer if that's what you were thinking before. 2026 might be your year to get into that first home or second home because you don't have to be a first-time buyer, and utilize this program where you can actually get for that down payment, helping lower your out-of-pocket costs and get into the real estate market sooner. If you're curious about if this could work for you, send me a message. You can text or email me and let's talk about your specific situation, how much money you'd need in order to buy your first home, and if you qualify for the Home Advantage Down Payment Assistance Program. Thanks for tuning in. If you have other real estate questions and you want to know more content like this about buying your first home, selling your first home, be sure to hit subscribe and like this video if it was helpful to you, and send it to someone who you think could utilize it as well. Thanks.